This is AR Tales. Today's story follows a husband whose wife demanded financial independence while still expecting him to bankroll her lifestyle. As you listen, imagine where you would have drawn the line in his place. My name is Declan. I am 35. My wife, Leah, is 33. We were married for 7 years. No kids. Nice house in suburban Dallas. I work as a systems engineer for a medical software company and make about $90,000 a year. Leah worked in marketing. She had just been promoted to marketing director, jumping from $85,000 to over 140 plus bonuses. From the start, we shared everything. Joint checking, joint savings, joint investments. I handled the bills and budgeting. She handled most of the home decor and the things that made our place look like a Pinterest board. For a long time, it felt fair enough. Looking back, this was the first time I saw money starting to change the rules in her mind, not just our bank balance. After her promotion, something shifted. She started talking about financial independence and separate growth, quoting things from empowerment blogs and podcasts. At first, I thought it was just buzzwords. Then came the conversation that changed everything. She said she wanted a financial reset. Her idea was simple in her mind. Her new income would be for her mental health and self-care. My income would be for household stability. When I pointed out that this sounded like I pay for everything while she keeps all of her paycheck, she got defensive. She started talking about traditional roles and masculine energy. She said real men take care of their wives and their home. She said a woman should not have to worry about bills when she is trying to grow in her career. This is how double standards often sound at first. They come wrapped in nice words about roles and energy. 7 years of shared money, and suddenly she wanted to pull her income off the table while my paycheck stayed right where it was. I actually laughed at first. I thought she was joking. She was not. That same night, I opened a new personal checking account. I rerouted my direct deposit. The next morning, when she saw me going over the new numbers, she did not look surprised. She looked like she had expected me to argue, then give in. Instead, I changed the structure. From that point on, I covered exactly half of our joint expenses. Half the mortgage, half the insurance, half the utilities. The rest of my money went into my personal account. No more surprise dinner reservations. No more weekend trips to Austin. No more expensive candles that were supposedly for the house, but somehow always ended up in her bubble baths. When Leah complained about having to buy groceries with her own money, I reminded her gently that she had said her income was hers. Groceries, I pointed out, sounded like a personal expense now too. The look on her face was pure shock. The idea that her new rule might apply to both of us had clearly never crossed her mind. A lot of people love independence as an idea, right up until it means paying their own bills. She tried to argue that groceries were household expenses, and the mortgage was the real responsibility. I answered that her yoga classes, spa days, and designer handbags were not exactly joint investments either. If we were going to itemize what counted as shared versus personal, it was going to get very specific very fast. Things escalated when her sister announced a baby shower in Florida. Leah just assumed I would fund her girl's trip like always. Flights, hotel, shopping. When I told her that sounded like her money expense under her new system, she lost it. She called me petty, controlling, and financially abusive. Then she went alone, maxed out a credit card, and posted Instagram stories about living my truth and financial freedom. While she was gone, I used some of my personal savings to install a home theater system in our living room. Nothing crazy, but it was something I had wanted for years. A nice 75-inch screen, good sound, a setup that made movie nights actually special. When she came home and found me watching a movie on the new screen, she called it irresponsible spending, said it was childish and wasteful. I paused the movie, looked at her, and said, "It is my money. That was your rule." The argument that followed was loud and long. She stormed out, calling me petty and vindictive. I sat there wondering if I was losing my mind. She was acting like I had betrayed her when all I had done was follow the exact rule she had asked for. So I asked Reddit if I was being unreasonable or if this really was not about money at all. After that, Leah doubled down. When talking did not work, she switched to emotional games. She gave me the silent treatment. She refused physical intimacy. She made snide comments around other people about how real men take care of their wives. I stayed calm but detached, which seemed to make her more angry. The breaking point came when her luxury SUV lease ended. She had been driving a loaded Lexus RX that cost more than some people make in 6 months. When it was time to renew, she just assumed I would co-sign for her upgrade. This time she wanted a brand new Range Rover Evoque. In her mind, financial independence meant I should sign for the car and cover the gap while she spent her salary on Botox and designer boots. When I told her I would not be co-signing anything, the mask slipped. She started yelling about how I was trying to control her lifestyle and sabotage her success. She wanted to control every part of our financial setup, but somehow I was the controlling one. This is where many people would have folded just to keep the peace. She began telling our friends that I was financially abusive and stingy. For about a week, people in our circle gave me strange looks. Mike, our next-door neighbor, pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay at home, so I showed him and a few others the screenshots. Messages where Leah wrote, "My income is mine." Messages where she called shared expenses your responsibility as the man. Messages where she literally said, "I should not have to pay for groceries when you make enough to cover household needs." The story people had been told shifted quickly. Her friend Sarah, who had known Leah since college, actually apologized to me. She admitted she had been getting a very different version of events and now understood why I looked so tired all the time. We tried counseling. Or rather, I tried. Leah agreed to go but spent the entire first session telling our therapist how I was weaponizing her desire for financial independence. Dr. Martinez listened, then asked some very direct questions about fairness and mutual respect. She pointed out that financial partnership needs to be partnership in reality, not just in name. One person cannot get all the benefits while the other carries all the responsibility. Leah did not like that. She accused Dr. Martinez of being old-fashioned and not understanding modern relationships. Then she walked out before the session was over. While she was melting down about my financial abuse, I found something else. Bank statements I had never seen. Credit card bills in her name only. A whole financial life she had been hiding from me. It turned out she had not suddenly decided to separate our finances after her promotion. She had been preparing for months. She had been moving money, opening accounts, running up cards. She had been building an exit strategy while still expecting me to pay for our shared life. The financial independence speech was not a random idea. It was the final move in a game I did not know we were playing. Her parents got involved after she called them in tears. Her dad is an old-school contractor who built his company from nothing. He listened to her side, then called me. He said, "If she wants independence, she pays her own way. That is what independence means." Shortly after that, she put $3,000 on a card for a solo, soul-searching trip. She told me about it the day before she left, like I should be grateful she was taking time to work on herself. While she was gone, I went ahead with something I had been planning quietly. I converted our garage into a gaming and media studio. I bought a proper gaming PC, a racing sim setup, a sound system. I turned it into the man cave I had always wanted but never built because Leah said it would be a waste of space. When she came home tanned and refreshed and found me driving virtual laps in my new racing chair, she exploded. She yelled that I had ruined the garage and made selfish decisions without talking to her. I paused the game, looked at her, and said, "You wanted separate. Now we are." Sometimes the only way to show a boundary is to live it. For the first time since all this started, I saw something change in her face. She understood that separate meant separate for both of us, not separate when it helped her and joint when it helped her more. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. About 2 weeks after the gaming studio incident, Leah said she needed space. She found a downtown apartment in the Arts District. This was central Dallas, not cheap living. About $2,400 a month for a one-bedroom loft with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. I did not stop her. The house felt lighter the moment she left. No more comments about my coffee consumption. No more lectures about how successful couples support each other. Just quiet and the freedom to watch what I wanted on the home theater without someone rolling their eyes. Within 6 weeks, Leah called me in tears. Not sad tears. Panic tears. Her credit cards were maxed. Her savings were gone. Between that rent, the car payment she finally had to handle herself, and the lifestyle she believed she deserved, she was drowning. She said, "Declan, I cannot live like this. I made a mistake. Can you help me with rent until I figure things out?" I told her that was not my responsibility anymore. I reminded her of her own words about independence. The silence on the line felt heavy. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. She said, "I never thought you would actually stick to it. People who are used to you saying yes often treat your first real no like an attack." Not long after that, Leah saw a divorce lawyer. She went in expecting to talk about alimony and assets. I am sure she imagined walking away with half of everything and maybe monthly payments on top. The lawyer took one look at her income, at the messages where she insisted her money was hers alone, and at the evidence that I had kept paying half the shared expenses. The lawyer told her that not only was she unlikely to receive support, but a court might decide she owed me. When Leah called to tell me this, she sounded stunned. She kept asking how it could be possible when she was the one who moved out. Courts care about income and behavior, not who packs a suitcase first. During the asset discovery process, my lawyer found more. Remember those bank statements I had discovered? They were only part of the story. Leah had been draining our joint savings for months before she raised the topic of separate finances. Over $20,000 in 6 months. She labeled the withdrawals as business expenses and investments. In reality, she was quietly moving our shared money into her personal accounts. The judge did not like this. Before any other assets could be divided, Leah was ordered to repay the money she had taken, plus interest. Given her financial situation, that meant I received a larger share of our home equity than anyone expected. Her parents had to co-sign her current lease after her credit score began to slip. The woman who demanded financial independence ended up more financially dependent than she had ever been. Her father, who had backed my stance from the start, told her she was learning some lessons the hard way. I sat in my quiet house, in my garage-turned-man cave, playing video games at 11 on a Tuesday, and thought about how we got there. 7 years of marriage ended because my wife wanted to have her cake and eat it too. When I finally called her bluff, she could not hold the life she said she wanted. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. Leah moved back in with her parents. Her dad started charging her a modest rent to teach accountability. She helped him with bookkeeping and learned how his contracting business actually worked. I bought a smaller townhouse closer to work. It was not as fancy as our old place, but it was mine. I finished my dream gaming setup, got a dog, and started enjoying evenings that did not revolve around someone else's moods. For 3 months, we had complete silence. No contact except through lawyers, no social media drama. I started to feel almost sorry for her. I wondered if I had been too harsh. Then one Tuesday, my phone rang. It was Leah. She wanted to meet for coffee to apologize and get closure. Part of me wanted to say no, but I was curious. We met at a coffee shop downtown we had never used before. Neutral ground. She looked different, less polished. No designer outfit, simpler hair. She looked like someone who had been living in the real world instead of through a screen. She said she owed me an apology, but not just for the money. She explained that the financial independence push had not really been about finances. It had been about control. About seeing if she could reshape our marriage to center fully on her wants and needs without any resistance. She admitted she had been planning it for months. Building resentment, telling herself stories about traditional roles, while quietly moving money and opening accounts. The promotion had given her the push to try. She said she believed I would cave because I always had, that I would choose keeping her happy over standing up for myself. I wanted you to fight for me, she said, but not like that. I wanted you to fight to give me what I wanted, not fight to protect yourself from me. The honesty was strange to hear. She told me she had been in therapy, learning why she tested boundaries instead of talking, why she needed to push to see how much she could take before someone said no. She thanked me. She said, "You taught me what I actually want, not a partner who will enable my worst instincts, but someone who will respect me enough to tell me no when I need to hear it. I just wish I had figured that out before I destroyed everything." She said she was ready now to share everything in a future relationship. Not just money, but real partnership and equality. She said she finally understood the difference. I looked at the woman I had spent 7 years with, who had put us both through this whole mess, and realized I felt nothing but calm. No anger, no sadness, just closure. I told her I was glad she had learned those things. Then I told her I had learned something too. I had learned how to live by her rules. I just never expected I would live better with them than she ever could. She nodded. I think she understood. We finished our coffee, said goodbye, and went our separate ways. No drama. No promises to stay friends. Just two people who had learned some very expensive lessons. I drove home to my townhouse, fed my dog, and settled in for another peaceful evening. No walking on eggshells. No arguments about where my money should go. Just quiet independence. The kind she said she wanted, but I am the one who ended up with. Here are some lessons I took from this experience. Lesson 1. When someone says their money is theirs but your money is for both of you, they are not asking for equality. They are asking for control. Lesson 2. If you hide good news or big choices from your partner because you fear their reaction, something is already wrong in the relationship. Lesson 3. Independence without responsibility is not independence. It is entitlement with a nice label. Lesson 4. Boundaries can feel harsh in the moment, but living without them is often much more painful over time. Lesson 5. Courts, money, and life in general usually care more about actions than stories. What you write in texts and do with accounts matters more than the version you tell your friends. Lesson 6. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for both of you is to stop enabling someone's worst instincts and protect your own peace. What would you have done when Leah first asked for a financial reset on her terms? You think he was wrong for sticking to separate finances once she walked away from partnership? Share your thoughts in the comments.